Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be going over kind of what I use when I go fishing because a few people have asked about it. I know this is kind of semi-important. I would say for people who already fish, it's not really that relevant to them. But for somebody who's new, this is probably really important because if you fished a few times and you just kind of want to know what the best gear is out there, this video will probably help you out a lot as far as what I use and what I catch fish with. We're going to go through my bag here. I'm going to look at everything in this bag, tell you why it's in here, why I use it, and why you should add this to your bag or whatever. Most fishermen have bags like this. Most real fishermen, I should say. But some people say they're fishermen and they go out there with a rod and that's it. And like almost nothing. You have to be prepared for the situations that you're going to encounter, and that's why there's several things in here, and you'll see pretty soon why I have these things in here. So let's go ahead and get it all out, take a look at what I have inside. The first item we're going to look at is going to be this rope. Now I'm going to show you guys later how I tie knots on my rods. I'm going to do that by tying this rope onto my bucket. The reason why you have that is so that you can dip your bucket and get water when you're on a dock, so you can put your fish in it so that they don't die if you don't want to use a stringer. The next thing is this tape measure. And the rope, this tape measure, this little kit right here, and also this super glue, which they all have a purpose. These were all bought at the Dollar Tree. So none of this stuff is going to be too expensive. You don't have to get all of this stuff, like especially when we get to the scents. You don't have to necessarily have one specific type of scent, and you don't necessarily have to buy one brand, and you also definitely don't necessarily have to buy them all. Just buy whatever you feel is necessary. I'll tell you what's the best when we get to those and go from there. But this little cheap little kit right here, this is mainly for in emergencies if I have to open up my rods. That's all it's for. Nothing too fancy. I got it from the Dollar Tree. You want one that's smaller because you want to be able to get those little screws out, and in case it gets locked up or something. Tape measure, of course, measuring fish. This right here is super glue. For obvious reasons, super glue can be handy for multiple different things. But the best thing is for your jigs. This is also a new addition. This is something that was suggested to me recently, so I went and bought that as well. This right here is going to be key when I'm doing some spring fishing and they're tearing my jigs apart. You can also use it to super glue the jig to the jig body. Alright, so another thing I have here is another newer addition, and this was bought last week. You probably saw it on video, but this is the weigher, and I'm glad I got it. Scale. I got this because people have been catching some hog bass, and I just kind of want to see what the weights are of those guys. So now I got that scale. It goes up to 25 pounds, and we can see. This, of course, a necessity. I mean, let's look at all the scales and stuff on it. This is simply to get hooks out of mouths that I normally can't. I don't normally need this guy though. I've needed it like maybe one time in the last several hundred fish that I caught. I'm usually pretty good at getting hooks out without having to use that. These swivels, all these sort of plastics. These are all colors that I like, especially this. The Moglows have been doing me fantastic work. I've got this guy right here, chartreuse, white, and a little bit of chartreuse on the body. The blood one with the chartreuse, twist tail. These are all backup type baits. I've been trying these electric chickens out. Got some bites on them, and then a pack of jigs. Strike Mr. Crappie by Strike King. These are my favorite jigs, but they are very expensive. You can get jigs so much more cheaper than that. So I don't necessarily recommend buying these unless you have the money, because they can get expensive. But bodies, jig bodies, and jigs in general, you kind of want a good balance of each color, and you also want a good balance of different types. Whatever works for you, you just kind of have to play around with it. But everybody will tell you chartreuse. Start out with just chartreuse in your lakes and then work from there. Get a dark guy, get a chartreuse guy for the bodies, and then play around with it. So we have the swivels. These get tied onto your rods, so that way you can quickly switch out of different baits and different types of bodies and jigs. These are just some egg sinkers I had sitting in there. Egg sinkers are mainly, I use them for spider rigging or drifting, long lining. These are some bobbers I just sort of had in there. As you can tell, this guy is a lot bigger. He's probably twice the weight, if not more. I think he's probably twice the weight. It's just easier sometimes, depending on the wind, to just go ahead and put on a heavier one of these guys and not use a split shot, because the wind will tangle up your rod. This is a very light, there's no weight on this guy at all. So this works well when you have a heavier jig head, and this guy's just sort of in the middle. That's why I keep one of each of those handy. I've got these, which work well, easy to spray on scent. They're just sort of like, you know, a lot of people like jigs like that. So let's look at the jigs real quick. This is sort of my battle, I'd say my little battle station in here. I've got all kinds of colors sorted out. I do have a lot of Bobby Garlands that are already on their jigs, but I don't recommend doing it because this crap right here happens. But that's why we have that super glue, because that should remedy that, if I can find the super glue. So here's a prime example of why I bought that. I'll show you right now. And this was my mistake, and I've said it in previous videos. Do not put your jigs together, your Bobby Garlands do not put your Bobby Garlands on jigs ahead of time. I've said that in previous videos, and that is for this exact reason. However, we now have a remedy for this stupid situation caused by myself, and that is this super glue. So I'm gonna keep that out because I'm probably gonna need it a few more times. Whatever color coded system here, this is my main go-to as far as what am I going to use, what am I going to try, what doesn't work, what am I going to switch to next. So as you see with some of these, like this guy, I remember I put him in there because I stepped on it by accident, but he looks to be fine. And a lot of these jigs that get really tore up, like even the ones I'm super gluing now, you don't necessarily have to fix them. Just wait until spring crappie fishing, because they will attack anything that moves. Alright, so here's another guy. This will be the last one I bore you with, but I'll kind of back the head up a little bit. Sorry, back the body up. Put some more on there. Cinch it down. So yeah, here's my blues, greens, green chartreuse. That is the top of the line color. Pinks have been really good this winter for some reason. Don't ask me why. I have no clue why. They have been so solid. There's my guy that I dried earlier, so he's good now. The one thing I can tell you about this case and other cases, make sure your plastics make sure they stay down and they don't cross any lines, because you'll cut them in here and then they'll be unusable. Alright, so now this guy is good, so I'm gonna kind of leave him in the front though, because he's got a lot of glue on him, but he should be good to go now. And I'm sure I'll find some more in there at times. It was just a really this keeping them ready. I'd say do this maybe the morning of, maybe like as you're out there heading out to your spot or whatever. You know, get a couple ready, but I don't recommend doing all this. This is a little too much. After I'm done dealing with all this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my plastics just by themselves. And some people have seen this in other videos, but I've already started to do that. Put my plastics in the other two cases I have like this, But then I'm gonna also have my jigs in one case, which I haven't gotten started yet, because honestly this is all of my jigs pretty much right here, and what I have in my other case. So this is what I call the battle. This is just ready. It's ready to go. Got everybody's ready to go, ready to rock. This guy right here is my twist tails, but as you can see, I color code these as well. Not necessarily on the tail end, but the bodies. If it's got a blue body, it should go with the other blues. If it's got a darker body, it should go with the darkers. Chartreuse I use a lot, so that's why it's got the least amount. On the other end, I have a bunch of jigs, stuff like that. Stuff that I've tried goes in this middle compartment, or stuff that's just abstract. Here's some plain ones. Here's some weights and hooks. Should go over here. They're just kind of a little spread out right now. But this is pretty much another sort of battle ready case. So I don't have to sit there and think about what color I want to try, or if I want to grab a jig or something, or if I think I need a smaller one. This guy is ready to go. Alright, now this guy is, you can slide a crappie in here, touches the bottom. That's how you measure a crappie, okay guys? Stop measuring your crappies with their mouths open. That's not the proper way to measure a crappie. You're gonna get a fine that way. If he's barely over 10 with his mouth open, he's probably a 9.5. So stop doing that, because it's wrong. You're gonna get other people fined, and you're gonna get fined eventually. Okay, their mouths need to be closed. They slide in here, touch the bottom with their beaks, and then a lot of places require 10. Some places are 8 or 9, but most places are 10. That's what this guy's for. Alright, so the final part, this is probably the most important part besides the jig color and the placement of where you actually put that jig on your rod, which I'll go over later. The most important part is the scent. Without a doubt, the best scent I've ever used is between these two guys. This is Shed Scented Slab Slobber. This is made by Malcolm Slab Slobber, Richard Malcolm, okay? He's got his phone number there if you want to order it, or if you go to the website and order it. It's really easy to go to the website and order it. He ships it pretty fast, priority. But I will tell you, these nibblers are probably, if not better, they're just as equally as good. They're both excellent. Now, on certain days, I'll spray this guy as a last resort, like sorta. I'm not getting any bites on my nibblers, and then they'll start biting. Does that necessarily mean they're better than the nibblers? I don't really know. I think it's definitely stronger. You definitely have to be careful with this stuff, because it's very strong. If you spray it on your clothes, you're gonna have to wash them, and if you spray it downwind, you're gonna be in big trouble. This stuff right here has glitter. It gets all over the place. People don't like to use those, so instead they use these. Okay, these are the non-glitter ones. Is there a difference? I don't think so. Not in the smell, but I think in the visibility. Does that really help you? I don't know. I would say yes. I use the sparkles before I use the regular. But I will tell you that these regular ones, which are solid, you can get these pretty much anywhere. These stay on the hook a lot longer than these guys will, because these have sparkles in them and they break up in the water and they start sparkling the water, which brings fish. It brings bluegill, it brings everything, and then they'll pick it off right off the hook. Crappies will try to swallow it because they think it's food. This guy, I used it one time. This is by far the strongest scent I've ever owned. It is so strong that I just kind of want to get rid of it. This is just another sparkle. It's just the white ones. It's white, but it's got also glitter. I mean, look at that. Look at that bottle. It's just, can't even see in there. Alright, so then you've got a Slab Slobber stick, which I think it's shad. Oh yeah, wow, that is strong. So like you know, a stick. And then I've got Berkeley crappie attractant. I'm not sold on this yet. I've used it a few times, and maybe it was because it was a bad day, but this stuff, I'm not 100% sold on this. I know Richard Jean, the fishing machine, this is what he uses, but I'm not sold on it. I've used it twice. I wasn't, you know, catching anything that day. I don't necessarily think that it was because of the bait choice or the attractant choice. I think it just was a bad day. But now I'm gonna show you guys real quick how I tie my knots on my rods by showing you this knot on the bucket. You probably want to do a double, so we'll go ahead and do a double. Alright, so make believe that this is the swivel or the jig opening. So you go like that. A lot of people do knots like this now. You go over, over. You want to go over as many times as you can. Then you go through. Then you go back through here. And that is a very tight knot. And it also cinches down. That's the kind of knots I've been tying on my rods. And when you pull on the ends, like this end or this end or even this end, it just makes that knot tighter. It does not loosen it. With like a lot of other knots, if you notice they were slipping off, when you pulled on it, you noticed it started slipping and then just popped right out. That's the poor man's knot. You don't want to do that knot. You want to do that knot. Poor man's knot is like this. Oh, through the loop and just, ooh, that's it. You just did a cheap little, didn't even try knot. I don't know what this knot is called, but I know that this knot, this is like the best. Ever since I've been doing that knot, I don't lose fish. I just don't lose fish.